Today we are looking at all the Marvel comics published with a cover date of July 1964. You'll see 12 comics came out in total from Stan Lee, and we're going to focus just on the superhero titles today. And you will see that it's getting to be about 3/4 of the releases this month. Let's dive in. We're going to learn about the rarity, the price increases for collectors, rarity, and historical importance. Starting with Amazing Spider-Man number 14. This is a major key, debatably the most important Marvel comic of 1964. It's the 152nd Silver Age superhero comic published by Marvel, written by Stan Lee with art by Steve Ditko. It's the first appearance of the Green Goblin, possibly Spider-Man's greatest villain. And it's the third most valuable first appearance Marvel comic of 1964. Print run estimated at 300,000 copies. Print run was starting to really grow. Spider-Man was truly getting popular at this time, competing with the DC popular titles. On the CGC census, we can see demand continues to grow. Almost 3,500 copies graded in total by CGC. There are 27 9.6s or higher. Heritage Auctions has sold over 500 copies in the last 21 years, proving it's a major key. Everybody wants it. Solid yellow background cover and a great picture of the Green Goblin in his first cover appearance. We even got the Hulk guest appearing in this issue. Using the Overstreet annual price guide, we can compare the growth of this book in all conditions over the last 17 years. You can see in this time period that low grades have almost doubled. And in higher grades, the book has almost tripled. Check out ebay.com for ended sales to see where current sales prices are. And check out gpanalysis.com to see how those super high grade CGC copies are selling, including 9.8s. On the census overall, there is one 9.8 only, but there are 26 9.6s. There's a lot of the UK price variant graded, but the highest grades a 9. Avengers number 6 was on the newsstands at the same time. The Avengers wage war against the original Baron Zemo and his Masters of Evil. This features Jack Kirby and Chick Stone art. Print run estimated at 200,000 copies on this book. This one's got sort of a pale white background cover, going to be tough to find in high grade. On the census, there are almost 1,000 copies graded, 21 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold over 200 copies. In Overstreet Price Guide, the book has doubled in lowest grades and has quadrupled in highest grades raw. And on the census, there are 9 9.8s and 12 9.6s. Fantastic Four number 28 features a Stan Lee story. It's an early X-Men crossover issue with appearances by the Mad Thinker, the Android, and the Puppet Master. And we got Jack Kirby art on this book. 800 copies graded by CGC, including 11 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 168. Another cream white background cover. Lots of Marvel chipping found on books like this. Very cool cover with the X-Men and the Fantastic Four all together. In the Overstreet Price Guide, the book has not quite doubled in lower grades, and it has not quite tripled in highest grades, but it's a steady mover. On the census, there are 3 9.8s and 8 9.6s. The UK price variant is quite rare, only 3 graded, the average grade being a 4.8. Journey into Mystery 106 features Thor versus Mr. Hyde and the Cobra with Jack Kirby art, red solid background cover. On the census, there's only 281 copies graded in all conditions, and even only 8 9.6s or higher, 70 copies sold by Heritage. This is not considered a major key, which is why the numbers are lower, but beware, it's actually quite rare in those high grades because the high grades would have been graded by now. On the Overstreet Price Guide annual, you can see the book has doubled in lower grades, but it's still a very affordable book, $26 in lower grades. And the book has tripled in higher grades raw. On the census, there are no 9.8s of this book. There are 8 9.6s, only 2 of the UK price variants graded, the highest being a 9.2. Sergeant Fury and his Howling Commandos number 8. It's got the first appearance of Pinky Pinkerton. Dr. Zemo on the cover is Baron Zemo. Jack Kirby cover art, print run estimated at 225,000 copies on this issue. Nice action cover. There's a Nazi swastika on the soldier's arm there, firing the death ray. And in the CGC census, again, not many copies graded at all. We have only 114 copies, 3 9.6s or better. Heritage has only sold 25 copies in 21 years. Overstreet price guide, very little movement on this book, not considered much of a key. So a super deal in low grades. Hard to believe it's had almost no movement in 17 years in lower grades. Higher grades, the book has a little more than doubled, raw. On the census, there are no 9.8s. There are 3 9.6s, and none of the UK price variants have ever been graded. Strange Tales 122, red back solid cover. We've got Doctor Strange and Doctor Doom and the Human Torch all on the cover of this book, and their Doctor Strange battles Nightmare. Jack Kirby art on the cover, Steve Ditko and Dick Ayers in the inside. Again, this one's very scarce on the CGC census. Only 162 copies graded in total. There are 7 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold 40 of these. Super cheap book. Cheaper to buy this than almost a new hot comic. Only $13 in lowest grades raw. The book has not even doubled in this time period. And in higher grades, it has tripled, but still super cheap, only under $300 in a raw 9.2. On the census, there are 2 9.8s and 5 9.6s. Only one of the UK price variant graded. It's a 6.5. Tales of Suspense 55 features a Mandarin appearance, and an All About Iron Man features in this issue. Pepper Potts has a pinup page, and Tales of the Watchers, the backup feature. This is a Jack Kirby cover, and we also have Don Heck art. Yellow solid background cover. This is kind of a nice cover. Again, scarce on the census, 249 copies in all grades combined. Only 6 9.6s or higher. Heritage has only sold 55 copies ever. On the census, still another cheap book. It has doubled in lower grades, and it has more than tripled in high grades raw. On the census, there is only 1 9.8 and 5 9.6s, and the only UK price variant graded is a qualified copy, and it's a low grade one. Tales to Astonish 57. This is an early crossover appearance by SpiderMan on the newsstands at the same time as Amazing Spider-Man 14. Giant Man and the Wasp are drawn by Jack Kirby on the cover. Paul Reinman art inside. This one's a little bit more popular, having the Spider-Man on the cover. 600 copies graded, but still only 15 9.6s or higher. Heritage has sold a lot more, 117 of this book. White background cover, another tough one to find. It's not even doubled yet in lower grades over this time period. Starting to get to be a pricier book in high grade raw, but it has stalled in the last year, but it's gone up about 2.5 times in this time period. And on the census, we have 7 9.8s, 8 9.6s, only 6 of the UK price variants graded, none of them high grade. And another big book coming out on the newsstands this month, we have XMen #6, a pale blue background cover. Kind of a nice one. We got the Submariner on the cover with the X-Men. And this is still 4 years before the Submariner would get his own solo book. We've got Jack Kirby cover art. On the CGC census, there are over 1,100 copies graded, 21 9.6s or better, and Heritage has sold over 250. Of course, lots of demand for early X-Men issues, driving all those numbers up. On the census, though, or in the Overstreet price guide, you can see prices have been pretty slow moving. And in fact, prices actually stalled in 2011 and actually started to fall on this book. But now they're slowly on their way back up. Low grades, so you'll see there hasn't been a lot of movement in this time period. And in highest grades raw, you'll see the book has a little more than doubled. There are 4 9.8s, 17 9.6s, 13 of the UK price variants graded, with the highest being an 8.0. Now, let's compare what else, the CGC census, comparing these books to each other. Looking which one is highest graded, by far it is the Spider-Man 14 with almost 3,500 copies graded. After that, it is X-Men 6 with 1,100 copies. And after that, it's Avengers 6 with 900 copies. But remember, we had a bunch of books that were really at the low end. There's 4 of them that have under 300 copies graded in total. Looking at the super high grade copies, well, Avengers 6 has 9.8. After that, Tales to Astonish 57 has 7 9.8s. But remember that Sergeant Fury and Journey into Mystery have no 9.8s graded at all. Just for comparison's sake, I threw Millie the Model 121 on here to show you sometimes what it's like with a non-superhero book. And you can see only 2 copies graded at all, the average being a 6.75. There are no high grade copies at all. And remember, if you looked at the census overall for these books, you would have seen that there was 12 books graded. And the ones that we didn't talk about today, Kid Colt Outlaw, Millie the Model, and Two Gun Kids. We got 2 Westerns and a teen book also on the stands this month from Stan Lee. So there you go, the 12 big books for July 1964 for Marvel Comics. Please subscribe to this channel. We do this every week. Thanks for watching.